Sacerdotus Hangouts, the broadcast that answers doubts about God, the Catholic Church, science, philosophy, and other rookie topics from here on out.
Hello, welcome to Sacerdotus Hangouts. On tonight's broadcast, I'm going to speak a bit about different current events that are taking place now in the world. I apologize for the delay in the start of the broadcast, but as many of you have known, if you have been monitoring my blog, Google locked my account, my Google Plus account, which I normally use to have these broadcasts. And then on top of that, they also changed the way you get on Hangouts, on Google Hangouts. Before, all you had to do was log on to your Google Plus account and click the Hangouts on air and set up the event, give it a title, add images, thumbnail video, introductory video, and other introduction of the broadcast and whatnot, and then promote it and put it in on your profile or on communities or tweet it somewhere else. And also invite people to participate, other Google Plus users. Well, now they completely changed the whole thing. Now you have to go to YouTube. So you have to go to your YouTube account and go to live stream, then click new event and set everything up there. And then when the time comes to click start the live broadcast, and it loads up the same window from the Google Plus Hangouts platform format. So I'm just starting to get used to it now. This is the first time I'm broadcasting since the situation with the account, and also since Google decided to move the Hangouts to YouTube completely. Now it looks pretty much the same, even though it says there's something new here regarding the control room, but I'll eventually figure it out later on as time goes on, and we'll get to that. And I also decided to start a YouTube account specifically for Sacerdotus Hangout. So the other one is locked on the Google Plus. I cannot do anything with that in regards to Hangouts anyhow. So I'm still working to get that activated again by different channels. So I'll get into that a little bit, but I decided to do my own Sacerdotus Hangouts YouTube, a separate account for that, so that all the things could be centralized in that account. So when people Google Sacerdotus Hangouts, they'll go directly to this account, and instead of having to look through all those other videos that I have up on the other account, on the Sacerdotus account. So I think it'll be much better, much easier. Now, hopefully, Google will not do anything to block me from this account, and which is why I want to get into that. Google, as many of you know, I have the blog on Blogger, and the domain name is hosted by GoDaddy. So when I started my blog, it was sacerdotus.blogspot.com, and I had to use the Latin spelling because some other individual used my trade name, pen name, author name, which I will have to fix later on legally, but I had to use the Latin name to do that. And eventually I said, I should just reserve the name as a domain to prevent anybody else from taking it. So I purchased for $10 the sacerdotus.com domain name, and then figured out how to link the blog or website to that domain, and and it worked well. So little by little, that started to build up and whatnot. And then eventually, I started a YouTube account, and I made some videos using Windows Live, uh, or Movie Maker, yeah, Windows Movie Maker, or Windows Live, whatever they call it. So I made some videos of that. I made some videos making fun of atheism, poking fun of atheist trolls, such as the blogger Robert Condor, whose real name is William Hounslow from the United Kingdom. And I will do a broadcast on this later on to review details about this. But anyhow, when I started the YouTube account, I had no idea that Google Plus existed. To me, I thought it was just MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot. I had no idea what Google Plus was, even though I saw it on my site many times at the bottom where you could share the posts. I saw the button with the G Plus, but I didn't really pay any mind to it. Until one day I started to Google Sacerdotus just to see if any trolls writing any lies or things about me. And that's when I came across the profile, which was started. And I had no idea that when I created the blog, that Google created an account for me on Google Plus and also the YouTube account. Then eventually Google linked YouTube to the Google Plus account. So what happens was that since I had Sacerdotus, both the regular English spelling and the Latin spelling, on the YouTube account, it transferred over to the Google Plus account when they linked it. And I just left it at that. I figured it was no big deal because I saw other accounts use pen names and pseudonyms and whatnot, so I figured it's no big deal. Just like Twitter, people use all kinds of strange and interesting names. So it's been like that since 2009, I believe, 2011, and without any issue. The profile has been there, Sacerdotus has been there without any issue on Google Plus. And it wasn't until 2014 that I started to really use the Google Plus. I fixed it up, added images to it, made it look more professional. I started to join different communities, atheist communities, Catholic communities, and whatnot. I started playing with it, started to get the feel for it, get used to the whole platform. And I found it to be useful to promote my content, to get into little discussions with alleged atheists and whatnot, and also to get other Catholics aware of my work. And hopefully they could join me or whatnot, or I could help them in any way or whatnot. And then eventually I came across the Hangouts. I decided to start that Sacerdotus Hangouts. And I figured, oh, why not have a live broadcast and people could actually hear me instead of reading my site or whatnot. They could actually hear me and participate or whatnot. I found that it was, it's free. I mean, I don't have to pay anything. So why not? So everything was fine. And then I eventually started Atheist Open Mind, Catholic Open Mind, Sacerdotus, Ask Sacerdotus, and one of different variations of Sacerdotus Hangouts to focus on different things. Everything was fine. I will share it. I will invite atheists to participate. And a couple times, a fellow Catholic former atheist joined me on the, many of you have heard in previous broadcasts. And two atheists joined me. I forget the first one's name, who joined me last summer in August, and then the one that joined me back in June. They got rowdy and whatnot, soccer account and whatnot. So far, those two atheists joined, or alleged atheists joined me on Sacerdotus Hangouts, Atheist Open Mind. So everything was fine. I figured, okay, now it's starting to pick up. Now these guys are starting to come on, and hopefully we get some nice civil, intellectual discourse going on, and have some fun with it, and hopefully bear some fruit. Well, one of the communities, I posted something that a Google worker sent to me saying that the users should report things against that are offensive as religious hate or hate. And this goes for anything, whether it's against homosexuals, against women, against Muslims, whatever. It should be reported as hate. So I just gave that little public announcement to everybody, and I guess some of these alleged atheists who are trolls, they took offense to it. I guess they thought that I was starting a campaign against them to report these trolls and whatnot and get them suspended. So what happened was that they gathered themselves together and started to mass report my account, eventually triggering the automatic blocking and suspension, whatever they call it. So that's what happened on August 21st, around 11 p.m. I got some notifications from the communities that I started that somebody posted, and it was a Protestant minister who was posting anti-Catholic propaganda. And I went to check it out, and I looked at it, and I left it there because I believe in free speech. And then I tried to reply to this person just to get a little discussion going. And I typed in the comment, and I clicked, and it said that I couldn't post. And I found that weird. And then I figured, okay, so they probably locked my account, suspended it. So I wanted to find out what exactly happened. So I then went on the PC because I figured maybe something wrong with the app on the phone. So let me try on the PC. So I went on the PC, brand new Dell touchscreen computer with Windows 10. Should be up to date, so I'll get review information. So I went on, logged on. As soon as I logged on, it said that I wasn't able to do anything. And then I logged on again, and it said that I was suspended for violating the policy. And I was wondering what the heck did I do? And then it said to appeal. So I appealed, and then I got a message within a couple hours saying that my account was locked because I was posting commercial content. And I replied to that. I said that's complete falsehood, and I sent them screenshots. Then they replied and said that I was posting spam. And I said, again, that's false. And I sent them screenshots, and then I sent them screenshots of the trolls bowing to mass report my account. And then they replied, and they changed the story and said, well, there seems to be a problem with your name. So first they said it was that I was allegedly posting commercial content. Then they changed and said I was posting spam. And then they changed and said that there was a problem with the name. So, and then the email asked me to provide information on the name and whatnot, that it may be a mistake on their part. So I figured, okay. So I replied to them. I explained to them that this is an author name, a pen name that I use for my site and whatnot, and gave some information that it comes from Sacerdotus Hangouts and whatnot, that it was a term used for seminarians or those in minor orders from back in the days. And I decided to use it because a bishop used to call me that years ago. So I decided to use it too. It stuck on me pretty much. It sounds like a old-fashioned ancient philosophy name. So I used it, and I did not get any reply. So I sent them the information they wanted and got no reply. So I sent them a snail mail letter and still have not gotten a reply. So I'm still working on that. Hopefully, I could get in contact with a lawyer who's interested in religious freedom and can help me out, and possibly get a share of any monetary damages, which can be awarded, because I feel that I am being singled out because of the religious content that I post. And the reason why I say this is because there have been accounts there on Google Plus when I started to get active on it that have been very abusive towards my account and posting all kinds of nonsense and harassing and whatnot. And then eventually, one of the trolls on Twitter, LF the Wolf, who lives in Kent in the United Kingdom, appeared in one of the communities that I posted in. And as soon as I saw him there, I knew there was going to be a problem because he's very problematic and loves to lie a lot and slander and whatnot. And he seems to have a fixation with me. And I was right. eventually the atheists that were there at first did not give me any problem. They were behaving. A couple of them would use foul language, but I just ignored it. I mean, I'm from New York. I heard it all the time, so it doesn't bother me. But as soon as this the Wolf guy from Twitter showed up, these atheists really started getting aggressive and started going after me and attacking me and whatnot. And it disrupted the whole community. I used to get into nice discussions with them, and that was that. But then after this guy showed up, it started getting really nasty. They started targeting me. They didn't even want to discuss things. All they wanted to do was just target me, and it seemed to be like a cop and robber thing. And it just became ridiculous. So what I started to do was I started to disable comments, because it got to the point that it didn't make any sense to leave the comments open, because all I got was trolling and harassment. So anyhow, I reported these comments to Google. I reported them. I even uh, contacted a Google engineer who was on Twitter and showed him, and he helped me out a little bit. But I believe he's not working on Google anymore. And Google did not take any action against these trolls. And some of them even created fake pages imitating me, and posting things about that I hate homosexuals, or things that were almost like from the Westboro cult. And I complained, and Google took forever to take down these pages. And right now, there are communities and groups on Google Plus, pretty much attacking me, harassing me. And according to Google's policy, these are not permitted. You're not allowed to create communities or groups that target people, that harass people. Yeah, these people are able to do that, and these groups and communities do not get taken down. But yet Google Plus comes out of nowhere and claims that my content was spam first, claims it was commercial, and then finally says that the issue was my name, Sacerdotus. So how is it that you could suspend somebody for a religious name, but not suspend these trolls who are targeting me and targeting other Christians, and who themselves are using fake crazy names as people with Bacon Pope, the Church of the Silly Beggars, all kinds of fake names, which obviously violate Google's policy. So that's why I say that I feel that I'm being targeted for religious discrimination. So hopefully there's a lawyer out there listening. Contact me, and at my site, sacerdotus.com. Just click contact, and you can reach me through the email. And hopefully we'll get the ball rolling and sue Google, because I feel that it's unfair that they give freedom to these trolls to abuse. And again, many of these trolls are using strange fake names that are not real names, and they are not suspended. Yet a religious account or religious name gets suspended, which has done nothing. So again, if you're a lawyer out there, please contact me, and hopefully we'll get this straightened out. And a similar thing happened to me on Facebook back in December 2015. I tried to log on Facebook, and it said that I couldn't log on because I had to change my name. I said, that's ridiculous. I didn't do anything wrong. And apparently the atheist trolls started reporting my Facebook account, saying I was using a fake name or not. So I sent Facebook the documentation showing that was my name, and they restored my account after a couple months. In June 3rd, June 2nd of this year, 2016, they restored my account. So I'm hoping the same thing will be done with my Sacerdotus Google Plus account, that Google will eventually reach out and fix it, clear it up, and suspend those trolls and get rid of them, because all they do is disrupt the purpose of the communities and the groups on Google Plus. And a lot of people leave these communities because of them. You know, they join to have discussions, to have civil discussions, and then get faced with harassment and abuse. And they feel like nobody's helping them, so they leave. They quit, or they stop using Google Plus. And I think that's why the platform is losing a lot of users. And I have a feeling Google eventually is going to get rid of it. And it's Google's own doing, because they do not take action against the real bad people. They go after the victims, the innocent, which is unfortunate. So I wanted to get that out of the way, and let me jump into the topic of this program, and that's the current events. First, I want to talk about the terrorist attack in New York City, and I call it terrorist attack because it was a terrorist attack. Mayor De Blasio came out saying that it was an intentional act. I mean, of course, it was an intentional act. You don't need a rocket scientist to figure that one out. But I really did not understand why he did not call it what it was, a terrorist attack, because obviously, if you leave a pressure cooker, or even before that, rewind a little bit, if there's an explosion and there's people hurt, and the explosion came from a garbage bin, obviously the first thing you're gonna think is there was a bomb. And when you think there's a bomb, then you obviously figure it out that it's terrorism. Because a garbage bin is not just gonna explode on its own will. And naturally, buildings do explode, because gas problems and whatnot. Like happened a couple of years ago in Manhattan, where a building exploded and several people were killed. And it happens. So we could immediately say, yes, that was an explosion because of a gas problem. But in this case, it was a garbage bin that exploded. So it made no sense for de Blasio to say that it was just an intentional act. Obviously, there was something more to that. So I was a bit troubled with that. That the leader of New York City, the city that was targeted on 9/11, along with the Pentagon, is not able to call terrorism what it is. That's a big problem, in my opinion. But anyhow, as the investigation took place, the NYPD and the FBI figured out that the person that was involved in this was Ahmed Khan Rahami. And immediately, the FBI put his picture all over the place. And for the first time, there was an emergency system that tweeted the information. They didn't tweet the picture; they tweeted the information to everybody in the New York City. So my cell phone has a New York number because obviously I lived in New York. So I got the text, and so around early in the morning, 7 or 8 o'clock, I don't remember exactly what time. My phone started buzzing because I usually leave it on vibrate because those ringtones really are distracting and I'm always in the library or in the church. So obviously I do not want the cell phone playing music or little sounds. So I leave it on vibrate all the time. At least 99% of the time I have my cell phone on vibrate. So I started to get this vibrating out of control. And usually when that happens, it's because of an Amber Alert. A child was kidnapped and something happened. Or there's a storm, so they're going on like Sandy or a blizzard or something, and they warning. But when I checked, that's when I saw the name of Ahmed Khan Rahami, and that's why I knew that things were getting serious. So anyhow, I'll put on the screen here my site so you can see what I'm looking at. And I just clicked something else here, but I missed it. Okay, so here we see the manhunt for Ahmed Khan Rahami, which took place on Monday, which was also my father's birthday, so happy birthday, Dad. And they were looking for this guy, and you can see some of my tweets. It said to call 911, 1-800-557-TIPS, which I believe is the FBI number, or most likely the NYPD's number as well. This is what I saw on my cell phone right here. It was actually at 7:55 a.m. Disregard the battery here. That's from all the tweeting. I eat up my battery. And you see the little alert triangle sign here. That's when the image came out, letting me know that something in the emergency was going on. So this was the first time that I've seen this, and hopefully they'll continue to do this. Whenever something happens and they have a suspect in mind, then they let everybody know. And I think that this system really worked well because immediately everybody started searching for this guy. So it wasn't just the NYPD or the FBI or New Jersey police that were looking for this guy. Everybody was looking for this guy. So I think that helped the law officials find Rahami quickly. So this is what appeared on my phone and the New York phones, cell phones that are linked with New York City or have a New York City area code. So I tweeted that out. This is the information from the FBI. Whatnot. So I mentioned he was caught, and I forgot to mention that the whole thing started when a bomb was exploded near in a seaside park on a route where there was going to be some kind of a race or run for the military, for the Marines, I believe. So a bomb went off there, and ironically, people didn't really cry terrorists during that either, which is unfortunate because I think they should be on alert immediately when something like that happens. Anyhow, so after that, that's when the explosion took place in Chelsea on 23rd Street. And it's an area where there's a lot of hipsters and a lot of wealthy people, and it's a large homosexual LGBT population also resides in Chelsea. So some people thought that it was an attack on homosexuals again, just like in the attack in Orlando in the Pulse Club in Orlando, Florida. But obviously that was not the case. This guy just wanted to blow people up, whoever it was. And obviously he was not too bright because he put it somewhere where there was not many people. Thank God. I mean, this guy is stupid because I told somebody that was more astute. He or she would have put it in a mall or someplace, a park where there's really a lot of people congregated, especially in New York City where there's a lot of people congregated, just having a good time, enjoying the last days of summer, which ended Thursday, when fall started at 10:21 a.m. So he was eventually captured, and the way he was captured was that a bar owner saw this guy sleeping on the doorway of his bar. So he went to investigate. He said, "What?" He thought to himself, "Wait a minute, this guy looks familiar. I've seen this guy before." And then he realized that that's the guy whose mug is being plastered throughout the media, not only on television, on CNN, MSNBC, and all these other networks, also on Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, everywhere. His image was everywhere. Called the Elizabeth police because this was in New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey. So the police immediately came, and I guess Rahami saw the sirens or heard them and became defensive and started to shoot at them, and they got into a shootout. And one of the police officers got some glass in his forehead, I believe. Another one was shot in the abdomen, but he had a bulletproof vest, so he wasn't really seriously injured. Obviously, if you have a bulletproof vest, what happens is, and I'm not speaking from experience because I was never shot at with a bulletproof vest, but from what I read, the bulletproof vest is full of all this material, lead or whatnot, and the impact of the bullet still impacts the skin, the area, so you get a bruise. And in some cases, depending on the speed and the velocity of the bullet, you may even break a rib or any other bone in the area, sternum or whatever, depending where the bullet hits, because the bullet's obviously traveling at such velocity that it hits that barrier and it creates more of an impact. And this impact travels through the body and obviously causes damage to the trauma to the area where the impact is. So it's like with an asteroid. An asteroid is just, or a meteor, a meteorite. It's small and it comes through the earth and it speeds up, and when it hits, it's like a nuclear bomb. despite it being small. And the reason is because of the velocity and the force that it's traveling in. And as it hits, there's more energy to it, so the impact spreads and causes damage. So this police officer was injured, but both of them were released and they're okay, thank God. Rahami was not in so lucky, so to speak. He got shot, I believe, 7 times, and he's in the hospital now recovering. He's in and out of consciousness, from what I heard. And from what I heard, from what I read, they have not questioned him yet because obviously he's not in a capacity to really talk or say anything in regards to his planning and carrying out of the attack on Chelsea and New Jersey. So that's the story regarding that, and hopefully it will be prevented next time. There was also another bomb that was found on 27th Street. This lady, a resident nearby, discovered a cooking appliance, a cooking pressure cooker, which looks similar to the one used by the Boston bombers a couple years ago, who attacked the Boston Marathon. And she saw this thing lying there in the street, in the sidewalk, with wires and what looked like a cell phone taped to it. So she said, wait a minute, this doesn't look kosher, so to speak. So she immediately notified the police, and the police came, they evacuated the area, and it turned out to be another bomb. Thank God it did not go off. And otherwise, there would have been even more casualties. But again, nobody was killed in the Chelsea attack. And a bomb did go off in Elizabeth near the train station after homeless men discovered it while looking for garbage. And I'm happy to say that nobody was injured in that one as well. The robot that tried to remove the bomb obviously suffered some damage, but it's a robot, so it could be repaired. But thank God the homeless men who were looking through the garbage and discovered this bomb, thank God they did not trigger it, or it did not go off while they were doing so. And I'm glad to say that some people actually came and donated to help these homeless men who discovered this bomb. And I believe they're getting free housing and food and whatnot. So it turned out to be a good day for them. It was a bad, scary time for Elizabeth, New Jersey, but it turned out to be good for them, thank God. And now people are giving their appreciation to these homeless men by giving them housing and food and whatnot, which I'm happy for that they're being taken care of, because obviously they helped a lot of people, they saved a lot of people just by saying something. Because again, they did not have to say anything. They could have just looked at the garbage and left. They did not have to say that they saw this thing there to anybody, but they did. Thank God these individuals were good people, and they deserve all the help they can get to get back on their feet and productive in society and other ways. So that's pretty much what that situation with Ahmed Khan Rouhani. Hopefully this is the last time, even though I doubt it. And this should wake a lot of Americans up, because especially after we celebrated the 15th anniversary of what we remember, and I don't say we celebrated, but used to we remembered the 15th anniversary of the attacks on September 11th, and then this bombing happens. So we should be on alert always. If you see something, say something. I mean, it's a matter of life and death. You could be sitting next to a bomb. There could be a book back right near you, and it could be a bomb. And I want to share a story with you of what happened in New York City with me. And what happened was that I was on a bus, on the 9 bus, and I was on my way to see a professor. And while I was on the bus, you look at the map. The bus, the 9 bus, travels through Fordham in the Bronx, which is a very famous road, very old road, and it's where Fordham University resides. So anyhow, while we were on the bus, I was sitting towards the back of the bus, and there was this man. Um, he looked African American, or very dark skinned Arab, and he got up while the bus was turning. The bus was not even at the stop. He got up while the bus was turning to get onto Fordham Road. And while doing so, while the bus was turning, this man got up. He left the book bag right in the middle of the bus. And for any of you who live in New York City or visited New York City and have rented the long buses, you notice that the middle part is like a section that's movable. It's almost like an accordion. Well, he left the book bag right there on the spot. And he got up and he went towards the back where the rear door is, two doors that open up. And he started to bang on it, saying, "Let me out, let me out." And he actually forced himself. He puts his finger inside these doors. These doors are very flexible, wobbly, they're not really that sturdy. And he forced himself. He pushed it open and he pushed his head and his shoulder through, forcing himself out into traffic. And we were all on the bus wondering what happened to this guy. Was he having an anxiety attack or not? And he walked off the bus, and then he went after a yellow school bus. And I was concerned because I was wondering whether there's kids on there. And he was actually trying to get inside the school bus. He was trying to do the same thing, sticking his fingers through the slots and trying to force the door of the school bus open. Now, I'm not sure what happened there because that's when our bus turned, so I couldn't see what's behind the bus. So that's why I noticed the book bag, and I quickly pulled the thing to signal to the driver to stop, and I shouted at him back to stop the bus. And he left the book bag. Stop the bus. So then the bus driver parked the bus right across at the stop of Fordham University, and he told everybody to get off the bus, and we all got off the bus, and he took the book bag, and he was opening it, and I said, you should not open that because that could be a bomb or something. And he opened it, and it was just, thank God, it was just clothes and things like that, and he just put it in the garbage there and left. So when you see something, say something, because it could be a matter of life and death. So you have to really pay attention. And this goes not just for New Yorkers, for everybody else in every city, every town. If you see something out of the ordinary, say something. If you see somebody leave a bag or a book bag or a purse or whatever, common sense tells you that nobody likes to lose anything. If I'm carrying a book bag, I'm not going to leave it somewhere like that. Because we're all always watching our belongings. I'm always fidgeting with my pockets, making sure my keys are there, my phone is there, and whatnot. It's almost like an OCD thing. And many of us are always holding onto our backpacks, especially on the bus or the train and whatnot. And we're not going to leave it anywhere and just walk away. So the fact that somebody leaves a bag somewhere and walks away is a red flag that they're up to something no good. So always say something when you see that happening. Nobody in their right mind will leave a bag with their belongings anywhere and just walk away. It just does not happen. In the airport, people fight when the airlines lose their baggage because they want their belongings. So nobody in their right mind will leave their bags somewhere and they just go walking away. So if you see that, please say something. Get away from it. Say something, because you never know what might be in there. And the same thing goes when you're walking on the street. If you see something out of the ordinary, say something. You're not going to get sued for filing a false report or whatnot, because unfortunately, this is the time that we live in. It's a time of terrorism, a time where we're being targeted by all different fronts. So it's better be safe than sorry. So if you see something, say something. If you hear something, say something. And what I mean by that is, if you're sitting somewhere and you hear somebody saying, "Oh, I'm going to blow up something," tell that to the police. Say, "I was just sitting here and I just heard those two guys or those two girls or whatever saying that they're going to blow something up, or they're going to attack somebody or beat up somebody." Tell the police, even if you hear it. You're not going to get in trouble for that. So we all have to care for one another. So I wanted to address that part. And also, speaking about terrorism, there's something going on now in Washington State, in Burlington, Washington. Apparently, somebody came and started to shoot and killed 4 people so far, from what I hear. Some people are saying he looks Arab or Hispanic or whatnot, but we're not sure. The facts are still coming in. I can put right now on the screen what I'm seeing on Twitter, so you can see what's going on in regards to the news. It's just 3 dead. CNN said there was 4 dead. So again, there's different conflicting reports. Over here, it says authorities 4 dead in shooting at mall in north of Seattle, and this is from the Associated Press. ABC News says there's 3 dead. So there's conflicting reports. The bottom line is people died. We're not sure of the numbers. And this is the guy right here. I'm trying to make the picture a little bit bigger right here. I don't know, this guy here, Jared Wand, or Wayand, is saying that it looks Arab, more Arab than Hispanic. But it also look Caucasian as well. So, I mean, you can't really go by looks. Hopefully they have a better image of this person. So this is at the Cascade Mall in Burlington, Washington. So if you're in the area, please be careful. According to reports, this person is still not captured. He's still out there and is armed and dangerous. So please be safe out there in Washington State or any other states nearby, Oregon, etc. Because obviously this guy is going to be on the move because he knows that authorities are after him. So hopefully they capture him and this whole situation is put to an end. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about today mostly was the shootings in Tulsa and Charlotte, North Carolina. And as many of you know so far, in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, Officer Betty Shelby shot and killed Terrence Crutcher, who apparently his SUV stalled in the middle of the road, and Shelby happened to come across there. And from what I read, she was attending a call of a crime or something that was taking place, similar to the officer in Ferguson who was looking for perpetrators who were robbing the store, which happened to be Michael Brown and his friend. So she, according to what she said in the reports, she told Terrence to freeze, to stop, and he apparently was not acting normal according to her. And she is trained to detect people who are high on drugs and whatnot. So she claims that he was acting erratically and was disobeying her orders. And all we could see in the video, or the helicopter shot video, was Terrence walking with his hands up, and Shelby's right behind him. And then he goes by the side of the SUV, and more cops show up. And then also he falls down dead. They shoot him, or she shoots him. And they claim that he was reaching for something in the SUV, but some people say that the video shows that the windows were closed, so there was no way he could actually reach for anything in the SUV. So immediately people started protesting. They said, again, we have another case of police brutality and whatnot, police targeting minorities. And I started to tweet a bit, telling people to calm down, to relax and whatnot. And obviously some people took offense to that. One person, black agitator who has been stirring up other black people on Twitter, he actually had the audacity to call me a troll just for questioning a tweet that he posted. So, but this guy is just looking to start trouble and whatnot. So it's unfortunate that these individuals get to that point where they're not able to allow any discourse or whatnot, or afraid to hear dissenting opinions. Obviously, they're insecure in their own opinions. But anyhow, obviously, through people from the support the so-called Black Lives Matter movement have been agitating other Black people, claiming it's a us against them thing or whatnot. And I try to remain neutral. I want to wait for the facts because that's the logical thing to do, just to wait for the facts, wait till everything comes in. Usually, if a police officer shoots somebody or kills someone, it's because the person was aggressive or made some kind of a gesture or not that was deemed or interpreted as aggressive. Police officers do not go around and just shoot people. They do not go around and look and say, "Oh, look, a black person, pow." "Oh, look, a Latino, pow." "A white person, pow." "An Asian, pow." They do not do that. They first stop the person, interrogate the person. If the person gets rowdy or not, then they use force depending on how the person is acting. They may use the baton, or they may use their own hands to grab the person and throw them on the ground and arrest them. And the only time that they usually take out their weapons is when the other person has a weapon, a knife, or another gun, and the officer orders them to put it down, and the person refuses or makes a motion to attack, and the officer has no choice but to shoot them and kill them. And some people say, "Well, why don't you shoot them in the leg?" Well, I mean, if somebody is moving, it's not that easy to shoot a moving target. So what they have to do is shoot at the mass of the body, which is the torso, because that's the biggest part of the body, the torso. So it's not so easy. Nobody is such a perfect sharpshooter to shoot somebody in the leg. And even a sharpshooter can only really shoot somebody that's immobile accurately. So it's really not possible for anybody to really shoot a running person in the leg. It's not. The things you see in the movies are just fiction. They're in the movies just for entertainment. It doesn't happen in real life. The human brain is not that advanced to really process a situation like that, especially when adrenaline and all these other things are taking over. So the concentration of the brain is to stay alive, to keep the body alive, not to really focus on targets and whatnot. So there's an issue there with the cognitive abilities of the brain to shoot somebody in the leg that's running at you. And then there's the laws of physics. The bullet is going to be traveling faster than the person, so it might pass the person's leg, and the person's leg is obviously a smaller target. So a police officer will have to have perfect timing, perfect acuity, and everything in order to really hit somebody in the leg who's charging at them. And obviously, no police officer has that kind of skill. It's not like the character that Will Smith played in Suicide Squad, who had this perfect, great accuracy of shooting. No such person exists, to my knowledge, in the world that does that. So that's why I say that we have to remain neutral. We have to wait till the facts come in, and then we can make all kinds of judgments. Well, immediately people started protesting. People started attacking the police and repeating the rhetoric that there is us against them thing, and racism and whatnot, and all these kinds of things, which really there's no evidence for. It's just people that get too emotional and do not really think things out rationally. So, and within a couple hours, the news report said that they found PCP in the SUV of Terrence Crutcher. So obviously he was using drugs or was in a possession of drugs. Now, the autopsy and everything will hopefully reveal more things, whether or not he was intoxicated, which will corroborate with Officer Betty Shelby's story. Well, anyhow, Officer Shelby was just charged the other day with manslaughter in the first degree, and she turned herself in. And some people are saying that that's just too quick. They're already arresting her without getting the facts yet or whatnot. And most likely what may end up happening is that she will be acquitted, because if they find that her story corroborates with the information from the autopsy, then the DA and the people and the county will have no choice but to drop the charges. And then there will be another problem. The Black Lives Matter and all the other people upset, thinking that the legal system sides for the police and blah blah blah. And it's just going to be the same rhetoric again. And just a few days later, after that, in North Carolina, another individual, Keith Lamont, was shot and killed by a black officer. This time it was a black officer. And at first, the story was that Keith Lamont was sitting in his car, in his vehicle. He was waiting for his son or something. He was reading a book, and then they killed him. That was the story that was going on, and many people really did not buy it because it sounded just too simple. I mean, too strange. Well, eventually the chief of police in Charlotte came out and said that Keith Lamont Scott actually had a gun. He had a gun, and he was told by the officer to put it down. And Keith Lamont Scott did not listen, and apparently shot at the officer. Officer shot and killed him. So that's the story that the chief of police said, and they still have not released the video of it. Just a few hours ago, yesterday, the family released their video, their cell phone image video of the shooting, and it really does not say much. When you really look at the video, it's too shaky. It really does not show much in regard as to whether Keith Lamont Scott had a gun or not from the angle. So we will hopefully get to see the angle of the police officers to see if it corroborates with their story, with the explanation that the chief of police gave, that it was Keith Lamont Scott who actually pulled out a weapon and shot. And of course, no book was found. So the whole story that he was reading a book was made up. It was a lie. It was fictitious. Now, in Carolina and North Carolina and Charlotte, people took to the streets and started protesting. Riots broke out. Stores were looted and set on fire. Streets were set on fire. Police cars were attacked. Motorists who were driving minding their own business, they were stopped by protesters, pulled out of the cars and beaten. Their cars stolen, damaged. There was a video going around showing a protester kicking a white homeless man, but I have not been able to confirm whether that was in Charlotte, North Carolina or not, because I did see a tweet or somebody was saying that video was from the United Kingdom, from another event, that it was not from Charlotte. So I have not received any confirmation. I'm not seeing any confirmation that this homeless person that was kicked, happened in Charlotte during the riots. But what I can tell you is that a CNN reporter was tackled, pretty much, was bum rushed by an African American who came out of nowhere while the reporter was giving a live report. He was on CNN around 9:30 something, giving a live report. And on live TV, everybody saw it, including myself. This African American came and bumped the reporter, knocking him to the ground. And other reporters were also attacked. And there's also images of a photographer who was taking pictures of the event, who was attacked. And then the crowd actually picked him up and tried to throw him in a fire to burn him, to kill him. And then two protesters actually shot at each other, and one of them died. At first, he was in the ventilator and life support, but he succumbed to his injuries and died. So it was a couple of nights already, 3 nights, 4 nights of violence and whatnot. And what's interesting is that police officers, when they checked the IDs of the protesters, the rioters, they found that these people were from other states. So some conservative pundits, some conservative, passionate conservatives on Twitter, social media, are saying that perhaps George Soros or some other character is funding these writers, paying these people to come in to go and cause trouble, to present the narrative that there's race problems in America and whatnot. I have not seen any hard evidence for that. It's just conjecture, but it is, it does raise some eyebrows why these people are coming from other states to do these things. Now, that doesn't mean that they're being paid off. I mean, it could be, but I don't really see any hard evidence for it because when I was in New York, I used to go to Washington for the March for Life. Does that mean that somebody paid me to go to the March for Life just because I was from New York going to Washington, D.C.? No, I was going because I'm pro-life. So, again, I have not seen any hard evidence that shows that these people from other states were actually paid off. Even though I have seen there is some credible evidence regarding the Ray McClinton and I forget the other African American lady's name, who both actually blocked me on Twitter. We never had an exchange. Um, so it seems to be an organized movement behind these people, and Black Lives Matter. Apparently, they target people who promote peace and whatnot, and block them or whatnot, or troll them. So we got to be careful with this organization that calls itself Black Lives Matter. Now, the idea, yes, it does have validity. Yes, Black lives do matter, but the way this organization presents itself, the way it addresses these shootings, is not a great thing. It's not a good idea. They really need to work on that, and they want to restore any credibility because right now they look like a terrorist organization, like a group that likes to agitate people and cause harm. And again, these riots going on are uncalled for. There's no need to go around and trash your own neighborhood. That's not going to solve anything at all. So hopefully these riots will stop and they will not happen again. And people just wait until the investigation takes us and comes to a completion so we can know the facts. And then let the law take care of the situation. Now, obviously, yes, I will agree that, there is a problem with the shootings and whatnot. But again, we have to remember that police have a job to do. The police have to do their job. There's no other way around it. So if somebody is shooting or being aggressive, the police have to do something in order to stop the person, individual, in order to keep safe, to serve, protect. They have to. Now, is there a problem with training? Well, I asked my followers on Twitter that. And this is what the voting came out to. I asked, is there a problem with police training? And 67% say yes, 33% said maybe. So obviously a good portion of people that follow me on Twitter say that there is a problem with police training or whatnot. And I would incline myself to partially agree with that. I believe that more needs to be done in regards to police training. And because some things that I have noticed in the police is that, not always, but many times they present themselves as too stoic and very robotic. So that's a big problem because you're human and you're dealing with human people. So you have to expect that emotions will play a role in a situation or conflict. So you have to understand how to take it from there and how to deal with the situation instead of being a robot and just following orders and doing things by the book. There has to be a human element to it too. You realize this is a human being that I might kill. You have to think about that. So in that aspect, I would agree that there needs to be more training, more human development, understanding culture, psychology, especially because if police officers get taught psychology and behavioral psychology and what triggers people, this will, I believe, will better allow them to police in a more effective way because they will understand the behavior of the person and what behavior the person is capable of and how to respond to it. And also culture. They need to understand that a Latino is not going to act the same way as a black person. The black person is not going to act the same way as a white person. Now, I know it may sound prejudiced or stereotypical, but we have to realize we are all different. Yes, we're all human beings, but each of us grew up in different ways and we grew up in different cultures. And these cultures have an impact on how we behave. Some cultures are individualistic, some of them are collectivistic. So police officers need to be aware of this. So when they deal with African American need to understand how African Americans are pretty much raised in the rural area and the urban area. The same thing with a Latino, the same thing with a white person. And a Caucasian person who grew up in the suburbs most likely is not going to act the same way or speak the same way as a white person that grew up in the city or in the urban areas. So the police officers need to be aware of those different cultural differences that affect behavior, especially with young people in the inner city. They tend to love hip hop, rap music, which glorifies violence and gangster imagery and whatnot. And these young kids love to mirror that. They see that as something to aspire to make them look cool. Does that mean that they're going to go out and be gangsters? No. They just think that the image of a gangster makes them look cool. So they might dress like one, even though they're not a gangster. So the police officers need to understand that and work around that and not jump to the conclusion when they see a kid with a do-rag or a bandana and immediately say, oh, this kid is trouble. He's going to attack me. It could be that the kid just likes to style the clothes. So you have to really think about those things. So I believe the psychology really needs to be a big role in police training. And the use of a weapon should be the last resort. The ultimate last resort. Because hopefully if a police officer can use psychology and talk him or herself through the suspect and control the suspect, then an arrest can be made, nobody gets hurt, the person gets the due process, gets charged, sentenced, or acquitted, depending on the evidence in trial. So that hopefully that will be the case if psychology is used in these cases. So, if you have any opinions, you're welcome to post them on this video, and I will post the most interesting ones, and hopefully you guys can get a discussion going. Obviously, we cannot blame the police. The police are human beings too, and we have to protect them too. We have to love them too. They're our brothers and sisters. They are husbands and wives, children, and they're just doing a job. And I could guarantee that none of them is out there with the mentality, I want to kill black people, I want to kill Latinos. No, it's just that unfortunately certain situations just get to that point. The problem I think goes both ways. We have to look at it, but we cannot quickly jump and attack police officers or our own neighborhoods. We have to wait for the facts to come in. If the police officer is wrong, the facts, the evidence to show that. If the suspect was wrong and his or her death was warranted, the evidence will show that. But in the end, we all don't want anybody to lose their lives. So I always tell the people, the moral of the story of these shootings is that when the police tell you to do something, listen. Listen, if you feel later on that you were violated or your constitutional rights were violated, guess what? That's what lawyers are for. But don't start arguing with a police officer. Don't start fighting with a police officer because it could get ugly. And I could tell you the story quickly in the last couple of minutes that I have left. A couple years ago, around 2007, 2008, I was in New York City and I was on my way to a Subway Series game at the old Yankee Stadium with the Mets versus the Yankees. And around this time, livery cabs were being robbed. So the police started a program where they would randomly stop cabs and pretty much see what's going on to make sure the cabbie was safe. Well, while I was in the cab rushing to get to the stadium around 180th Street in the Bronx, we were stopped by the police officer. And the police officer told me and the driver to get out. And he asked us for IDs. And I asked the question of the police officer, is everything okay? What's wrong? Because I was worried, what if this is not a real taxi driver? What if this guy stole the cab and I'm with a cycle? So that was what was on my mind. And he said, no, we're just reviewing, making sure everybody's safe or not. And he looked at my IDs, okay, thank you. And that was the end of it. Now, had I started to argue, fight with him, I probably would have been shot or killed. So, when a police officer stops you, just be polite. Ask what's going on. Is everything okay? Show the ID and don't argue. And it should not escalate to the way these situations that we see on the news. So my time is almost up. We have 20 seconds. You can visit my site at sacerdotus.com. If you're able, donate at gofundme.com/sacerdotus to help me expand this and whatnot. And again, if there's any lawyer out there that wishes to help me with the Google situation, please contact me. Take care, God bless, and Mary keep.